Hey guys, Victoria coming to you here from Copenhagen Fashion Week on the second to last day, and it's actually the last full day of events and shows going on. We have a couple of shows that were good and some not so good that are in review. The first show that I'm starting out with was actually a show that took place on Friday, which was day 3, but I didn't review because we didn't have all of the photos done and processed yet, and that was the Designers Remix show, and Designers Remix is a brand from Charlotte Eskildsen. The collection was pretty good. It stayed true to the aesthetic of the brand, again very minimalist. There were some really interesting pantsuits. She picked up on more of a pastel color tone, lots of cream colors as well, and the brightest colors came in sort of 3 showcase gowns that she designed, which were kind of a bright neon pink, neon green, and neon yellow. The one thing that I would say is that what probably upstaged the show the most is the fact that American model Lindsay Wixon, who is ranked as one of the top 50 models in the world at the moment, was part of the show and sort of headlined it in a lot of way. For those of you who don't know Lindsay Wixon, she's actually been seen on the runway for brands like Chanel, Dior, and she's somewhat of a muse for American-based designer Jason Wu, who's best known for designing for Michelle Obama. He actually also designed Lindsay Wixon's prom dress. So it was also nice just to see a more professional model and somebody who was completely comfortable on the runway, because one of the things that you notice when you go to smaller fashion weeks is that they don't always look comfortable, the models, in terms of how they walk, because you can tell that they're not professional models in the sense of what you see on the runway at Paris, New York, Milan, and London, for example. The first collection that we went to today was Max Tan, and I have to say I was kind of disappointed by this collection and a little bit surprised. The color palette fit. They had a lot of like muted green tones and muted blue tones, but a lot of the clothing I just felt was completely ill-fitting. It was also very bizarre, going back to the point of having more professional models. At one point, one of the models in the show had her shoes off and actually walked barefoot, carrying her high heels in both hands, which I think also spoiled the show to a degree. It sort of felt like a collection of collections, and that you could almost buy this at Cause or some sort of high street store, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it just didn't feel like it had a place in sort of a fashion week on a larger setting where you're looking for inspiration and looking to buy these pieces actually as a buyer if you're attending these shows. The last show we went to today was the Kolding Design School, and of course it's interesting when you always see design school students work because of the degrees of variety that you get from a collection like it. And they actually showcased 14 designers in total. My personal favorite was Anna Borg, who had a much cooler palette and a much cooler collection, and she actually opted for very clean, very streamlined pieces. And I love the fact that she used mustard yellow in her collection, and again, very, very wearable. One of the things that you see in terms of Copenhagen Fashion Week that I think it's important to understand is it's not a collection like you'll see in the Haute Couture Week during Paris Fashion Week. It's a collection that has the wearer in mind. It's a collection that is meant to be bought. You did have some students who went in the complete opposite direction and went completely crazy, but also seemed like an homage to British designer Gareth Pugh, in the sense that you had these crazy asymmetrical patterns and something that kind of looked like an anime character more than anything else. The last thing we went to was not actually a show, but rather a trade show. And that was the gallery at Forum Copenhagen. And the gallery at Forum Copenhagen was interesting because you got to see all the different Scandinavian brands and actually see a lot of the collection pieces, such as Stina Goya, up close and personal. Definitely emphasized that Copenhagen is more of a buyer's market than anything else. When people come here to Copenhagen Fashion Week, it is primarily to buy, and they definitely keep their Scandinavian audience in mind. So that's it for the second to last day of Copenhagen Fashion Week. We'll be back tomorrow with a recap of all the week's highlights, and make sure to stay tuned next week when we're in Stockholm for Stockholm Fashion Week as well. And if you're craving more from Copenhagen, make sure to check out copenhagen.pinstyle.com, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, because we'll have weekly videos coming out of different events and whatnot going on around the world. Thank you very much for tuning in, and see you tomorrow.